Three, two, one, go. Hey, Brandy, I do think we are live. I know it takes Facebook a little bit of time to catch up, but guys, hey, happy Wellness Wednesday. Brandy and I are back again today. Super excited to be here today. Super excited about this topic. And it's ironic because when we jumped on here, guys, we matched today. And this was not planned, but it is Heart Health Month. And that was the reason too. And it's Valentine's, we're coming up on Valentine's Day for, those of you out there who really go all out for Valentine's Day, but it is Heart Health Month. And that's just really huge, guys. It's really important that we're taking care of our hearts. So anyway, for those of you who don't know me, we're going to just dive right in here, and I'm going to turn it over to Brandy here pretty soon. But for those of you who don't know me, I am Jazzy Will. Welcome to my profile. I'm excited to have you here. If you are new to my profile, drop a new in the comment box. And if you're joining us live, drop a live. And if you're catching this replay thing that, most of the time that's what people do catch, drop a hashtag replay. We would love to connect with you if we've not had the opportunity. I am a certified mental health and wellness coach, along with a food first specialist. Brandy and I have, we've come to you now a few times. We like to do this. We do every other Wednesday, but we like to come together and share some of the things that are happening in the mental health and wellness industry right now. And there are so many things that are happening. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Brandy, let you introduce yourself, and we'll move with this topic. I'm so excited.
All right. I'm Brandy Benson, and I'm a coach and educator, and I specialize in anxiety and emotional regulation. And I help people doing this with my blah.
It's one of those days.
What do I do, guys?
I love it.
Pull it back. Just kidding. I do this work using mind-body tools. So really incorporating both of those elements. So I like to say I help people trade the crazy for confidence and clarity, right? Because that's kind of where we get when the emotions are all riled up. And once we get out on the other side, we really get that confidence and clarity that we're all seeking.
Yeah. And I mean, that's such a perfect way. It is crazy. I mean, and we have this way of rolling things over. I know we've talked about this, rolling things over and over and over in our brains and how that really truly affects us. But guys, today, so we spent two different lives talking about mindset. And we always kind of collaborate after we get off these calls as to what direction we want to move next. And we were visiting after our last live, and we decided to jump into something called Keystone Habits. And I'm going to let Brandy talk more about this. She's the expert when it really comes to this. I know a little bit about it, but I'm going to let her share.
Yeah. So Keystone Habits, I love the concept of Keystone Habits, and I'll kind of explain a little bit in a second why. But just to give you an overview, if you're familiar with this concept or you've heard this, you're kind of like, what is this? This is actually out of a book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And this book has probably been around 10 plus years. I know I read it about 10 years ago. And essentially what he was saying in this book is that there are habits that when we put them in place, all these other little habits, usually that we want to do, right? More positive things in our life, they just kind of fall into place. So the idea of a keystone, if you've ever seen a stone arch, right? You'll notice that all of the stones are kind of moving upwards in a pretty precarious way, right? You're like, how are those going to stay in place? And then at the very top is that keystone that's in the middle of both of the, both sides, and it keeps that archway in place. So the concept there, when you're visualizing that, thinking of your keystone habit as that habit that is in the middle, that then all the other habits fall into place. And the beauty about that is, what I love about this is it gets you from living on the to-do list and the checklist of all the things that you need to do, and it helps you prioritize, okay, if I really put my focus on this keystone habit, I know that these other things are just kind of naturally going to be easier to do, rather than me struggling and forcing and trying to do all of these new habit changes that are going to help my mental health and my emotional wellness.
Yeah, I love that. So maybe I can tell me if I'm right or wrong with this. So like a keystone habit, like the keystone habit of like exercise. So a year ago right now, I mean, I like literally could not get up and down off the floor without assistance, right? I had to have somebody help me get up, help me get down, do all of that kind of stuff. And my granddaughters were kind of like poking fun at me. So I made the decision to really, really focus in, hone in on strengthening my body and working on balance techniques. And I was so excited because I had my granddaughters out here this weekend and they're big gymnasts, right? My goal was to be able to stand on my hands, and I did it. I was so excited. So, like the exercise part, staying focused on what it was that I'm doing, it took me a year to get there. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But being so honed in on that training that I was doing, and like I have not missed a day of working out. I think I'm on like day 440 something is where
Yeah.
I'm at. So the exercise would be the keystone, right? And then you build out from there.
Yeah. So what I love that example, and congratulations. That's so fantastic. I love that. I can't even stand on my hands. I want to do that. We're gonna have to do actually a live where you stand on your hands. But anyway, so here
Oh man, now you're making me sweat. I love it.
So let's pull this out. Let's tease this out a little bit. So you have this incredible goal in mind, right? So you're laser focused. And then to get to that goal, you had this habit that you had to do, this exercise. But then, in addition to the goal, right, putting the goal aside, what were some of the other impacts or some of the other things that you sort of noticed happening in your life because of this one exercise habit?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things. One thing that I noticed was like my eating habits have changed. They've shifted. I'm like
Oh,
not, I've actually added more protein into like my daily nutrition sources. So that actually shifted with it. And as I started doing the strength training, I noticed that's where I really started noticing the balance thing and the importance of that. So I actually started in adding in the balance training, those kind of things. I've also noticed that I'm sleeping better. I've noticed that I have more daily energy. I mean, there's been a lot of things that have actually come out of all of this.
exactly. And that is the beautiful effect of a keystone, right? So you mentioned like that you changed up the way that you were eating, right? You noticed that your body needed more protein. Exercise is a keystone habit. And one of the beautiful things I think about exercise and kind of, some of the work that I do around mind body and that body connection, but also the recognition in your mind of what's happening in your body is that when you are exercising, you develop more body awareness. And then
Yeah.
through more body awareness, start to become all these other positive plus things or habits that you start incorporating, right? Like you probably started noticing, I'm sure that it was a mind body decision around adding protein, right? Because you're like, okay, I need protein to build muscle and those things. But I'm sure that your body started craving it too, right? Like it started saying, yeah, if you're going to have me do this work and you're going to have me strengthening my muscles, I need more protein. And so then starting to have that body awareness, I'm sure, and we can just test this, over the next week, you kind of notice what are other things that you're now doing because of your body awareness that are positive improvements or habits in your life. And I bet there's like a multitude that you haven't even noticed. So that really is the beauty about body-based keystone habits is they start to really infiltrate every other aspect of our lives so that we're living more in alignment in a way that feels good in our bodies.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I can bounce up and down off the floor right now just like this. I can keep up with our 2-year-old, not a problem. I couldn't last year at all. It was just like, oh my gosh, I would get toward the end of the day and I was just like, I can't do this. I just can't do this. So that was a huge stepping stone for me. And like I
Yeah.
said, just to be able to get up and down off of the floor. And especially at my age, I mean, as we age, those muscles don't grow. They really start to deteriorate. And if you're not taking time to do the things that you need to do, guys, that's what really happens. And so besides exercise, what are some of the other keystone habits?
Yeah. So for Keystone Habits, I mean, there's really a plethora, but what I love to do is actually have people pull these out of their own lives. And starting off with recognizing what has been working for you is a great way sometimes just to revisit a habit that you maybe dropped
Mhm.
and that was working for you. So often we think we need to reinvent the wheel or we need to find a new practice or a new tool. And the reality is, we just dropped the ones that were working because we got busy or we didn't feel like it or whatever the plethora of things are that came up. And we don't really need to create a new will. We actually just need to revisit what is already working for us. So, one exercise that I really recommend that people do is take a moment to look back kind of internally in your body. When was a time that you felt really great, right? When was a time in your life that you mentally felt really good, right? That time where you felt like sturdy and like the sun is out and you're full of energy and it seems like all your relationships working and your mental health is there, your physical health is there. And then go back to that period and ask yourself, what was I doing then? What was I doing? And is there something that you were doing then that you are not doing now? Is there something that you were doing then that you are not doing now? And if you recognize that, and you recognize that that was one of those keystone habits that was really kind of keeping things in place, can you begin to bring that back into your life? You know? So for me, one of my keystone habits um, is starting the day off with some type of spiritual practice, right? Some type of meditation, um, prayer, something that brings me back to myself, makes me feel like I'm in alignment with, my higher power, and doing some type of body movement. I like to stretch when I make my morning tea. And those two things, just that body movement, getting into the body and getting right connected to body, connected to spirit, everything else flows in the day. And when I don't do that, what I find is I start the day off thinking, what do I need to do? And I go straight into kind of almost not necessarily a fear mode, like, oh, I'm so worried, but almost like I'm more concerned about productivity and what do I accomplish. And my life then starts to become about the to do list rather than allowing my day to unfold the way it's naturally going to be if I'm in alignment.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I like what you talked about because and guys, if you know what, if there's something that like jumped into your mind while Brandy was talking about, go back to that time where you felt really, really, really good. Drop that in the comment box. That time where, you remember feeling really, really good. I mean, for me, it's been 20 years ago when I was like running my marathons and, super active. I mean, I was out of bed at 4:30 in the morning and just vibing through life. And I can see now where, those are the habits that I let go of.
Mm.
And I need to get back to those actual habits to be able to feel that centered again. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And sometimes it's also adjusting for the season of our life as well, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
sometimes it's just like recognizing, like, okay, what are the keystone habits for this season in my life? Because I'm
Right.
sure all of us would love to like go back and be in our 20s again. Like, unfortunately, we're not going to get that time back. It was a beautiful,
Unfortunately.
time in our lives. And we can still feel amazing in our bodies at any
Yeah.
age, vibrant at any age. I'm a big believer in that, right? We don't have to like get old
Nope.
in that we're feeling old. However, I think there is sometimes that adjustment, right? Because what if you now have kids and you're thinking, well, God, what made me feel good was when I could do all these things when I was single and I didn't have that responsibility. So does that mean what, we get rid of the kids and we're like, start over? No, but we start to adjust for those seasons in our life by bringing in those keystone habits that really do make us feel better. And so one of the things that Duhigg talks about in the book, and this can kind of help you build in these things, or maybe even notice where they're already in your life and start doing them more consistently, is that within a habit, there are three parts to a habit. There's one, the cue, and then there's the two, the behavior or the thing that you're doing. And then three, there's the reward that you get from doing the behavior. So he gave this great example of how, in the afternoon, he would go get a cookie every day. He'd like go down to the cafe, talk to everyone, grab his cookie. And he noticed at some point that like the cookie ritual was not working for his waistline, right? He was like, okay, I gotta chill out on this. But he had that habit loop of, right, like it's 3 p.m, go get the cookie, talk to people, get the reward, feel better, right? And so what he realized as he dissected this habit loop that he was in was that the reward that he was wanting more than maybe that little sugar rush was actually the opportunity to talk to other people and to socialize. Because in his work, he was kind of isolated, right? He's a writer, probably researching and writing. And what he wanted was that opportunity to connect to other people, to chat, to kind of get that poppy energy, right? When you start, being with other people. And he didn't have to go get a cookie in order to do that. He could, at 3 p.m, go down to the cafe, chat with other people, get his reward, and then go back up and continue working. And so for us, when we're looking at these, habit loops and we're wanting to create them, starting to notice the cue around sometimes the thing that is causing the negative habit, and then what is the reward that we were looking for, and can we put a different action in there, a different step that's going to help us get the same reward, right? So we still have the cue, right? Still at 3 p.m, and we're bored, and we need to switch to a different behavior so that we can then get that. And the beautiful part about that is that he's really helping us recognize that we can start identifying the rewards around our habits and then correlate those. So for me, I've started to correlate exercise with being more grounded. I've started to correlate exercise with having less anxiety. I've started to correlate good sleep and good sleep habits with feeling happier during the daytime, having more emotional regulation. I've correlated, making the bed with feeling calmer in the room, right? Like, it's just so much easier to focus when the bed is made and I walk in this room and there isn't stuff scattered all over. So you start to notice the reward correlated to the behavior, and then that makes it easier to come back to that behavior and reinforce it when you have those lazy days where you're like, I don't want to make the bed, or I don't want to exercise, or gosh, I just want to watch one more episode of Netflix, and not go to bed on time. I have to remind myself, oh yeah, I want that reward of waking up tomorrow and feeling rested. I want that reward of feeling more emotionally stable. And so that's also, start doing that, start recognizing the reward of your positive habits, and then start recognizing the reward of some of those negative habits as well, right? Because you can also have the same exact loop on some of those negative habits.
And as you're talking about this, I'm thinking nutrition. It's like, for me, I've changed so much of my nutritional habits because of the fact that I've done exactly what you've talked about doing. I've focused more on knowing that when I'm putting this good stuff in, I've noticed that the good stuff comes out. I've got more energy. I'm more grounded. I don't have the mood swings. I'm more centered. There's so much more when I'm feeding my body the good stuff versus giving it the crap and the garbage. And I can tell every single time that I do that, it's going to affect me. I'm going to get crabby. I'm going to be moody. I'm going to not feel good. I'm going to despise the way I look in my clothes, those kinds of things. So I love this, to be able to take those cues and be able to take that reward and really stay grounded and focused in that reward.
Yeah, exactly. Just being able to reiterate that for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been fabulous. I love this. Anything else? Any last, last words that you would like to leave? Words of wisdom? Last words of wisdom until next time.
Yeah, honestly, I think my words of wisdom are just that reminder that we are human, right? And that our mental and emotional wellness, a lot of times, is just rooted in these foundational habits and making sure that we're getting those things done. So often, what we don't need is the big, huge things, though sometimes we do. But a lot of times, it's just rooted in these simple habits of getting your exercise, drinking your water, eating healthy, getting to sleep on time. And when we do those things, when we honor our body, we honor those cues, we're going to be rewarded for it.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Hey guys, I hope this was helpful today. If you have any questions, literally any questions, please feel free to reach out to Brandy or myself. We're here to serve you. Our goal is to help you live your best life ever. I did a live last Friday. I was on a training where we talked about the difference between lifespan and health span. And what we're aiming for is that health span. Guys, we want you to not only live as long as you possibly can, but to live your best life. And that's the main goal here. So, hey, I think that's all we've got. We're good for the go. Hey guys, go out, take on the rest of your day with grace and gratitude. Do remember that it is Heart Month. Be taking care of your heart. And we will be back in a couple of weeks with our next topic. You don't want to miss it. Trust me.